reconnect the diaspora through storytelling, we stir up each other to love. And we stir up each other to good works. And we stir up each other not to neglect ourselves, our culture, our history. We encourage one another to make sure that what we hold dear, what has marked us out, what has identified and distinguished us as peculiar people, is held firm and we are not distracted. When we reconnect, we have unity of mind and we remember our purpose.
As I'm opening my mouth, the vibration that is coming from my heart passing through to the microphone, and then you hearing it just now, that is a flow of information. That is a frequency, a certain frequency. But that is not the only frequency that is here right now. There are a lot of frequencies that can be transmitted and interpreted into different things, not just sound, but also color, also the perfume, also the different things that are happening here. But the one that you are attuning to just now is the one that is coming from my mouth, and we have connected it in a way that is the only one that you are isolating from all the frequencies that are available here today. I am just saying that to me that as people of African descent, we could use storytelling to attune ourselves to the type of frequency we want to listen to, we want to connect to.
I felt very disconnected, but in my heart, my heart's desire knew that there was something more. And when I began to learn of terms from Ghana, Sankofa, which means retrieving the past for a powerful future. Said differently, it means just go back and get it. And so that's what I began doing, going back and getting the culture from which I came, learning about it, understanding it, embracing it. Never learned to speak the language, but maybe that's somewhere in my future. Because if my story is my grand plan for my future, my connection to my source material for that story, which is Nigeria, Ghana, and the Congo, makes me stand more firmly in the person that I am today.
Hello and thank you for checking out this video. I'm Obehi Ewanfo, the host of the African Diaspora Storytelling Series. Every 2 weeks we meet up on LinkedIn to talk about different ways we can leverage the power of storytelling as people of African descent. Now this is it. We are uniting the millions of Africans in the diaspora through the power of our story. It does sound like what you are interested in. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends who might need it. Now, back to today's conversation.
Okay, thank you, Brother Obehi. And again, thank you for this wonderful opportunity you're giving us to come together as a big family. And in the spirit of sharing cultures and tradition, I start by saying greetings, everyone. Alafia, Eku Odun Tuntun, which means Alafia is greeting, asking about your well-being, holistically. Eku Odun Tuntun means welcoming you to the new year. I think it's important we try to speak our language. Let us hear each other's native tongue. I love it. When I hear other languages, I feel it, even though I may not necessarily understand what it is. Just the same way when I pray with the people I work with who are not necessarily Nigerian or Yoruba, they say when I pray in my language that it evokes something within them. So I'd love to hear all the dialects and other languages. My name is Gloria Tinu Ogunbadejo. I'm Nigerian from the Yoruba culture. I'm an ordained minister, a writer, life and health coach, an ancestral healing coach. I support African women, ministers in the diaspora in particular, and others generally to make a cultural reconnection, spiritual connection, emotional, psychological, intergenerational healing, strengthening their identity, and bringing harmony and balance into their lives. And all of this is through ancestral healing and reclaiming our traditions, looking back to our elders, ancestors to gain wisdom, direction, protection in these challenging, tender times. And I'm offering a 5-day free introduction to the concept of ancestral healing, debunking the myths and misinformation, even lies about the harm in looking to our own divine strengths, gifts, blessings from our ancestry. And I can be found on LinkedIn, gloriaogunbadejo.com. Check out my website. Thank you for that. So, to the topic at hand. Reconnecting the African diaspora through storytelling is a significant and meaningful endeavor. By embracing, strengthening storytelling as a tool for connection, people of African descent in the diaspora can weave a tapestry of shared experience, fostering a sense of belonging to a larger African family with a common heritage. Through the recognition and celebration of these common threads, individuals can contribute to a stronger sense of identity, unity, pride within the globes of African diaspora. You know, sharing personal and family histories can involve narratives passed down through generations, capturing the experiences, traditions, and values that connect individuals to their African roots, reinforcing the connection to a larger African family and heritage. Sometimes we underestimate how it's like a domino effect. Collaborating with cultural organizations, facilitating opportunities for Africans in the diaspora to learn about the diverse cultures within the African content, again, is an important activity. We are diverse in so many ways, but we're also one people. And this is the time we need to feel that sense of oneness. And this can only be done by communicating, talking, learning. Obviously, these amazing audio series that are becoming a must event to attend is key. It feels like throwing out a net as far and as wide as possible and gently corralling, bringing and drawing people in, bringing the family in together from far and wide, encouraging the sharing of different cultures and traditional practices. You know, the retention of traditions and practices in the diaspora is influenced by factors such as the historical context of migration, cultural adaptation, and interactions with other cultures. So it makes it even more significant that there is an intentionality about it. And this is what we see in these series that we've been attending. They're getting more and more powerful in what they evoke within us. I can feel it every time I come on to one of these audio sessions. There's something about how it makes me feel when I come away from it, which tells me that the more we talk about who we are, the more we share these experiences, the more we talk to our families and learn about things and then share it with one another. Speak about the things that make us that the similarities that we have in our cultures that make us a stronger people. The more we become stronger and our children become stronger, utilizing digital platforms, social media, and other media to share stories, creating and curating content that highlights the richness and diversity of African cultures and traditions and achievements, fostering a sense of connection and pride. Again, is something that is we need now. It's now. You know, the urgency about it, I can feel it within me, and I can feel when people come, there's that sense of, even though I can't see people, but the energy is there. There's if you believe in energy and vibration, you feel it. When my brother was talking, it was like something rising within me. That's energy. And I love hearing about the similarities in the traditions and cultural meanings of different African groups in the diaspora. For instance, the importance of storytelling as a means of passing down history, values, and cultures, knowledge, and that is shared across continents, like initiation ceremonies, rites of passage, marking transitions in life. When I was talking to my brother Obey some time ago, and I was saying something about the Yoruba tradition, and he said, "Oh, that's very similar to what we do." And in my mind, I'd never considered it. So hearing that again is like, yes, let's tell each other about this, and of course, let's tell our children, because they need to hear about who they are, so they know their identity. And I'm not going to hog the microphone, but I'll start with that. Thank you for listening. I'll pass off the mic.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you so much for that. That is really powerful. You see, you call it energy, and I think that is really what it is. But even at the level of so many advanced people, they say that life is energy. Yes, I think that is true. In that we are energy, and because we are energy, we cannot be destroyed. We are here. It's just that sometimes we can be suppressed. But we just need a spark sometime, and we'll be sparkly again. Yeah, we are connecting to this energy now. You can see I am in Italy, and I have people connecting from the United States. You yourself, Gloria, you are in the United Kingdom. We have people connecting from Jamaica. We are all tapping into one source. That is why we are able to communicate. Those who are expert in communication will be able to tell us about this when we are talking about frequency. This again is energy. So the energy we are tapping into today now is that of the diaspora, the African diaspora. We are trying to tap into our united energy, the energy that connects all of us. We're already all connected anyway. It's just that sometimes we don't realize it, so we don't operate on that frequency. Now, talking about frequency, I'd like to spend a few seconds there. I'm not an expert in communication in terms of maybe the dynamics about it, but I think it makes sense to us if we were to just take some time to reflect on that. You see, as I'm opening my mouth, the vibration that is coming from my heart passing through to the microphone, and then you hearing it just now, that is a flow of information. That is a frequency, a certain frequency. But that is not the only frequency that is here right now. There are a lot of frequencies that can be transmitted and interpreted into different things, not just sound, but also color, also the perfume, also the different things that are happening here. But the one that you are attuning to just now is the one that is coming from my mouth, and we have connected it in a way that is the only one that you are isolating from all the frequencies that are available here today. I am just saying that to me that as people of African descent, we could use storytelling to attune ourselves to the type of frequency we want to listen to, we want to connect to. Because we will say that is what makes sense to us more, rather than all the billions of frequencies that are available to us. Is more like a soup that is boiling with different type of information. But the truth is, we don't need all those information. Actually, what I want to say that we need to choose the type of information that we want. And therefore, we need to attune ourselves to a certain type of frequency to be able to get that information. Otherwise, I am in Italy. How could you hear me talk and you are hearing me in the fraction of a second? It's because you have permitted yourself, or you have You have decided to connect to a certain frequency that allow us to communicate. This can be really powerful if we leverage it to our own advantage. That maybe millions of people in the diaspora decide to use this frequency to talk to ourselves and to talk about ourselves at this time. That can be really powerful. Now, before I pass the mic on to Dr. Matia, Gloria, you were saying something in your language just now when you started, and I really think that is really powerful. Again, that is another frequency. Why don't we throw in some words in our language? That help us to do a lot of things. First, it helps us to establish where are we coming from. It helps us to talk about the root. Because when we are talking of reconnecting the African diaspora, we're also talking about our root. Because where are we connecting it to? We are connecting it to ourselves. All of us are singular antenna. So these antenna are reflecting something. They are light that is helping somebody to remember, there is another antenna there in front of you, or by your left, or by your right, or at your back, that you can connect to. It's reflecting something. When you then speak, now what I'm imagining is when I used to go to the farm with my elderly brothers and sister. Okay, I lost my father quite early, so I wouldn't say, okay, I accompany my father sometime. Maybe when you are in the forest, somebody will say, oh, oh, oh. That is how my father would then respond to, oh, oh. Then they will talk among themselves, you see. Now, I'm imagining that, looking at ourselves as antenna in this boiling soup of a society where we live in. Because when you have talked now, then I can know how to relate, whether I should be near to you or run away from you. Because whatever you say will help me to decode who you are. So talking a little bit about our language sometimes can be really very helpful here. So in my language, because we are in the period of feast and festivity, we will say always sena. It's a way to say welcome to the new year. Then you will respond with oseno way, meaning your head have reached the top of the pinnacle of the year. Then you sort of celebrate it with other people by greeting them, and they greet you back again, because it's always a give and take at the end of the day. So I really want to appreciate all of you for what we are sharing here, because I think it is important that we are connected, that we are sharing this moment together. So thank all of you for being here. All right, I pass the mic to Dr. Matsia. Please tell the people who you are, and please go on.
Good morning, everyone. I am enjoying the discussion so far. I want to say how good it feels to be among the experts and the scholars, Sister Gloria, author, and John, Aaron, and Obi. And here we have Alotunji. I want to first of all say welcome to 2024. If God spared your life, if God brought you here today, if you are present, it is for a reason. It didn't just happen, and you must now move forward, understanding that you are among the privileged. A lot of us didn't make it over. And I also want to wish you abundant joy, happiness, opportunities, prosperity, and inspiration and wisdom for 2024. I am Dr. Marcia Thomas. I am a Christian empowerment leadership coach and a professional career coach. I am also a Christian leader. I am an author of several storybooks for children, which are literature, comprehension, and language arts, phonics books that talks about their own experiences and make them think critically and problem solve in those areas of writing, comprehension, and also in phonics and grammar. I have recently authored another book that is called A Leader Like You. And if you have not gotten it, I want to use a dialect that Jamaica says, half of your life gone, which simply means that you would be missing something. I also want to say that As I coach leaders for 2024, I want to, my emphasis this year is faithful leadership, how you remain relevant, exemplary, and integrate your faith into your assignments, your tasks, your career, your business. I I focus on your mindset in relation to believing that your mindset must be your business strategy and your faith must be your armor. And so as I move through coaching and empowerment, I look at reconnection in a very powerful way. And this would be my connection in a powerful way. In Jamaica, if we say, and that is in our background as Africans, if we say as Maroons, me check for you, it simply means that I appreciate you, I view you very highly, and I think that you are worth my respect, my love, my loyalty, my commitment in any organization and in any industry. However, if I use the same word to say, may we check you, it simply means that I will be coming to visit. I will be spending some time with you. Or if even if it is business, I will come back and do shopping at another day. If it is social, I am going to be visiting you at a particular time when we can socialize and have fun. Or if it is just family members, it is saying, fine, I will visit you as soon as I can. And so today, as I look at reconnecting through the diaspora, I want us to look at the many ways that it means. And one of them, because I am a Christian and a Christian leadership coach, and so my paradigm is rested in that area, I want to say that when we reconnect the diaspora through storytelling, we stir up each other to love. And we stir up each other to good works. And we stir up each other not to neglect ourselves, our culture, our history. We encourage one another to make sure that what we hold dear, what has marked us out, what has identified and distinguished us as peculiar people, is held firm and we are not distracted. When we reconnect, we have unity of mind and we remember our purpose. We have compassion and we have sympathy for each other, and we have turned the love and an open and humble mind. And we have a Bible scripture that also says that love covers a multitude of sins. When we reconnect through storytelling, we get such a deep understanding that we want to reach out to each other, protect and cover each other. And we want to carry those who are fumbling in darkness into light. That is very important for the African diaspora because of the fractions and the fractures and the displacement that has occurred over time, voluntarily and involuntarily, because some of us were forced out, just like my ancestors, they were forced out, and then some were forced in. So where they relocated, we were forced to take our place there and put down roots there and establish new foundations that make our original foundations very misty, very unclear. And we have not gotten enough to cement it. And so reconnecting involves this multifaceted journey in my mind that encompasses a revival of the culture in its real and original and emotive form, and the historical awareness of why those were established, the blood and sweat that established it, the community that was built and dismantled, and the empowerment of a people that needs to reconcile themselves with their history, their identity, their roots. And so it offers this ongoing exploration of our identity and our heritage and make us honor ourselves because of who we are. Honor those who are connected to us and who have shaped our past and is now shaping our future, even absent, and empowers us to face anything that is coming. I want to stop right there for this time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matsia. That is heavy loaded. That is really truly loaded. Of course, we can get a message there that when we talk about reconnecting the African diaspora, we're actually talking about stirring each other's up to love, to remember where we are coming from, to remember that we have an identity, to remember that we have a collective existence. Now, do I need to remind us that this is more like a kind of reenacting the idea of Pan-Africanism? Because those were the founding principle that we are going to the same place. We are one people. We have a collective destiny. That is why the idea was so important. It wasn't because, oh, I am the smartest. I am the strongest. No, it was because of us, all of us. Because all of us can do anything. There is nothing that is bigger than all of us. But any one of us can be worthless. But you see, I like what you were saying, Dr. Matsia, there, that love can pardon even our shortcomings. This is so true. That an individual might even be blind, but because that individual is in a group that is bound by love, that individual that was blind can actually see, because you can see through the eyes of other people. I think those are really rudimental. Those are fundamentally important for us to understand. That as we are talking of the African diaspora community, we will come to see this play out in a practical way. That among the African diaspora community, there are some individuals who might be very smart, who might be really well to do in terms of being able to carry some other people on their shoulder. But we have some individuals who do not know their left from their right. What do we do now? If we understand that we are bound by the same love, the same destiny, the same identity, the same people, then those individuals who should be sleeping under the bridge might soon find a place to sleep, because we are a people. And as a people, we can find a way. We can find, my mother would say, a Bible by sober. Let me repeat that again. A Bible or by sober, meaning the only thing that cannot be shared with the people is the only thing that cannot be splitted. She usually would say this when there is food and maybe the food is not big, because I am not coming from a very rich family. Okay, today we are well to do. But growing up, we were very poor, very, very poor. Some of the poorest in our village. But there was love among us. So my mother would say, maybe there is a piece of yam that maybe one of us is holding, or maybe she herself is holding. Even though it was small, she would cut it again and give to another one of us. Then she would make mention of that word again. The only thing that you cannot share is the only thing that you cannot split. Now, can you see how she's even passing on the message to us? She's not just talking about it in an abstract form. She's talking about it in picture, because we can see it. We have ate the yam, so we could understand what she means. We don't find it difficult to understand that, because it's evident. In a community like the African diaspora, we can survive it. We can even thrive so much if we learn to love ourselves. If we understand that we are a people, not just individual. As an individual, you might actually not go very far. But as a people, we can go very far. We can go anywhere. So thank you so much for that sharing. All right, now I pass the mic to Arthur John. Arthur John, please share with us.
Thank you, Obahe. The stories so far have been amazing. I am Arthur Jones. I'm based in Tucson, Arizona, the southwestern part of the United States. And my business practice uses a story-driven approach to nurturing values, humanizing professional brands and businesses. It's all about nurturing human skills, what previously we may have called soft skills, that now we've determined are the skills that make us all successful in business and in our personal lives. And I think one of the credos, I guess, in my business practice comes from one of the most successful venture capitalists in Silicon Valley here in the US. The VC firm is called Andreessen Horowitz. Ben Horowitz is half of that venture capitalist firm, and they listen to pitches from business people seeking money every day. They're the early investors in companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon, so they have no worries about money, so they have lots to give away. But Ben Horowitz says something I truly believe. He says that in listening to all of these pitches, that he's determined that the mistake people make is thinking the story is just about marketing. He says, no, the story is the strategy. When he's listening to an entrepreneur make a pitch, he's listening to the entrepreneur's truth, what values come through the stories that that person tells. And he knows that if he's going to give money to that entrepreneur, it's going to be because they have a really compelling story based on sound values with grit and commitment to use that money wisely and make that business grow. Ben Horowitz believes if you make your story better, you make your strategy better. And I think coming to the African diaspora through storytelling, that quote from Ben Horowitz really resonates with me because as an African American, I represent the intention of that word diaspora. Diaspora comes from a Greek word that means to scatter about. Well, through that middle passage in a ship, my forefathers came across the Atlantic and landed here in this North American country that we now call the US. I was cut off from a history that now through DNA I know is largely from Nigeria, some Ghana, and the Congo. I didn't know that as a young man. I didn't know that when I was in high school. I learned those things in recent history when we started using a cotton swab inside of my mouth. I send it to a company and they come back and say, well, here's your DNA. This is from where you come. My story is my strategy. And if we deconstruct that thing that Ben Horowitz says, if your story is your strategy, and strategy is defined as the art of planning the best way to achieve success. Strategy is a grand design, a game plan, a plan of action, a master plan. When you're cut off from the source material of what makes you who you are, the greater family that you're connected to, and you're westernized growing up in North America with the values of the Westerners that are colonizing the people in this part of the world, I felt very disconnected. But in my heart's desire knew that there was something more. And when I began to learn of terms from Ghana, Sankofa, which means retrieving the past for a powerful future. Said differently, it means just go back and get it. And so that's what I began doing, going back and getting the culture from which I came, learning about it, understanding it, embracing it. I never learned to speak the language, but maybe that's somewhere in my future. Because if my story is my grand plan for my future, my connection to my source material for that story, which is Nigeria, Ghana, and the Congo, makes me stand more firmly in the person that I am today. the in my practice in using story to help people look back so they can navigate the future, look back to understand the source material for who they are, the people, places, and experiences that have shaped them, so they can be self-aware, so they can be socially aware. If you don't understand yourself, you can't understand other people. Going back as far as I can go and helping people to understand that we're all in this together. And I think that's the theme, I think, for this notion of storytelling in the diaspora, is that this is community. I'm here because I feel part and oneness with everybody here from whatever culture or country that you come from. And I think when I think about why that's important to me and why I believe those things, it really is, I've mentioned that I have been westernized. I grew up in America. When I began connecting to my roots back in Africa, I learned that there were words, just one word that could speak volumes about how I could view my place in the world. And an ancient African term, Ubuntu, that is South African, as far as I know. There's two words that I think, if the story is the strategy, the story about these two words that are a greeting and a response to that greeting, that I think make me understand that the source material of from where I come from where my people have come from, has power in it. And the terms that I'm talking about, the exchange of the greeting, Sawubona, Sawubona, expresses the philosophy of what Ubuntu is. And it simply means that when I say Sawubona, it means I see you. And when I respond to hearing Sawubona, I say Sikbona, which means I am here. And the beauty of the response to Sawubona, Sikbona, is that I don't just say that I'm here. I do not exist without you seeing me first. We're so connected that when you greet me, your greeting to me acknowledges me and I exist for you. Sawubona and Sikbona. The wisdom of the cultures that are on the continent of Africa and the wisdom of indigenous tribes all over the planet have the same ethos, the same heart's desire to appreciate that not just the people that are part of our tribe, but the trees that surround the village that we come from, the river that runs through it, the clouds and the stars above it are all connected. The story is the strategy. Understanding the story from where we've come, whatever diaspora you're a part of, going back to our origins before we became industrialized, commercialized, Web 4.0ized. We were one with the people that were part of our village, that were part of our tribe. And when I was recognized as part of that tribe, I exist for that tribe. The story is the strategy. I became more whole and complete as part of the diaspora when I understood the source material from which I come. I made my story better, and thus my strategy, my grand plan for the future is better. And Obehe, this African diaspora through storytelling is a vehicle for us to hear those stories so all of us can make our strategies better. Thank you for allowing me to come to the stage.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you so much for that. I am really feeling so proud of all of you here. And I am seeing the value for what we are doing here. You see, it is powerful, your narration. Of course, like those that have spoken before, because this is actually a confirmation that what we are doing here makes sense, and that this is not something that we can delegate to somebody else to do for us. We really need to be here live and present, share our experiences, and maybe help other people too to share, because that is one of the things that storytelling does for us. In that another person looking at you like you are like him or her, seeing you stand up and tell your story, how you rise and fall, those things that you like and do not like, those challenges that you have had and how you have overcome them. Now this person suddenly come to realize that, me too, I've gone through these experiences. Maybe I can also share my story. After all, it doesn't happen to me alone. After all, I am not alone in this world. I want to repeat that again. After all, I am not alone. Because somehow, unfortunately, in the African diaspora community, there are a lot of people that are alone or who feel that they are alone. But I think what situation like what we are doing just now, or what we should continue to do, because, Arthur shared a story with me before. Of course, you're going to be inviting me, that he's reinventing his podcast. I said, this is powerful. The world is waiting for us. The world want to listen to us. There is none of us that cannot do more than we are already doing today, reaching out. I'm speaking mostly within the area of connecting and reaching out to more people. We are powerful. We are full of powers. We are full of possibilities. We are full of energy that we can use to ignite other people. I wanted to see ourselves as candle. You see, you cannot light a candle and put it under your table. Of what use it is? You need to stand on the mountain, let it shine. You are not going to force people to say, hey, come and see me. They will see you because you are a light. There is no way you cannot be seen if we should make sure that your candle is a light. So this is a good thing. I want to believe, I want to repeat again that we are here doing this. We are supposed to do this. We are supposed to be connecting. We're supposed to help other people too to understand that they can do this. I am just an ordinary person. If I can do this, then anybody can do this. In fact, there are many of you there that are better than me. So what we are here essentially saying is, let's reach out our hands and shake. Let's talk. Now, things fall apart. Things fall apart. Chuno Achebe was saying in his book, Things Fall Apart, it was talking of the pounded yam. Now, the pounded yam is a food that is very common among many of us, not only among the Igbo, but many of us actually. That the pounded yam was so big a pounded yam. Pounded yam is actually made of a yam that you have pounded. Of course, you boil the yam, then you pound it. Of course, add a little bit of cassava product to it, then it becomes pounded yam. Then you eat it with all sort of vegetable soup. Is the best type of food that you can do in my place, culturally speaking. So it is fall apart now in the description of Chuno Achebe. The pounded yam was so big because it was made for the community that two people were actually eating, their friends. But one was eating at one end, the other one was eating at the other end. The pounded yam was so big, it was a mountain that they didn't see themselves until they have eaten to a point. The pounded yam actually broke and it fell to one side. Then one of them raised hand, the other one raised, Okokwo. Okay, I'm just saying Okokwo. Then they made mention of the other guy that was there. So you are there. Then they shook themselves on top of the pounded yam. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about this connection. What do we need to be able to reach out to each other, to shake our hands, so that many things that we are suffering from can actually be resolved? Because suddenly we'll come to understand that even among us that are experts, maybe what you are suffering from is loneliness because you are thinking that you need to be in Africa today, but you are not there, so you are suffering. But maybe if you talk to somebody that look like you, he might help you to overcome it. Because that person might actually be an expert on helping people to overcome loneliness. If you don't talk to him, you will think that there are no solution to that. But if you talk to him, because he is like you, he will know how to console you. Maybe in the area of business, you have a business, you don't have a website, for example. Let me use that as an instance because we do website for businesses. Now you are sort of worried, how can I do this? But because you are a community, you share your problem with other people that look like you. You might come to understand that even near you there is somebody who can solve this problem for you. You see, as a person, as an individual, there is a little you can do. But if you lift your burden onto the community, then that body can actually be resolved. That problem, whatever, no matter how big it is, it can be consumed by the community and it will become a very small problem because the community or the people put together can solve any type of problem. Again, I want to repeat, the African diaspora community are hundreds of millions of people. There is no problem in the world that is bigger than hundreds of millions of people. But the question is, are we leveraging this power? Are we connecting among ourselves? By connecting, I mean, are we able to go beyond the fact that, oh, I'm Afro-French, I am Afro-American, I am Afro-China, I am Afro-German. Can we lay emphasis on the Afro instead of the German, the American, or the French? Because when we do that, I repeat, when we do that, there is no military in the world that can stand us. There is no economic strategy that can withstand us. We can do anything because we are one people and we can solve any problem. That, like I was saying before, somebody that is suffering from loneliness can suddenly find out that his problem is going to come from the other person who do not necessarily speak his or her language, but he is using the same Ubuntu, Africans. We are Africans in the diaspora. We can solve any problem, but first we must connect among ourselves. So I thank all of you again, and I pass the mic to Olatuji. Please share with us.
It's a great pleasure to be here. It's a new year. Happy New Year. Akwodun, Akuyedun. That's Yoruba language from Nigeria and some other places in the world too. Odun Atuwalara. It's going to be a good year for us all, and beautiful things will happen to us and even from us. I want to appreciate every one of us again on this platform. I say thank you so much for holding this lampstand, this torchlight, and making sure that the world is coming to its rising. This is very important for us. It was like laying the foundation in 2023, and here we are. If you look closely, my name is Olatunji B. Alunge. I survived 2023, and that's why I'm in 2024. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and for you to hear me now, it means that you're also a hero. You fought through, and you are here. We do not take that for granted. We are very grateful for the opportunity to be here today. I especially want to appreciate, my friends, my, co-speakers on the platform, everybody here. I want to appreciate you so much for, giving your time and your intellect for this revival that we look forward to having, especially from 2024, because I believe strongly that we have laid very good foundation in the previous year, and then going forward, a lot is going to be happening. As I will be helping much more people this year through personal development and business development as well, it becomes very important for me that we need to do the reawakening. We need to do a lot of, connecting of the dots and that's very important. Reconnecting the African diaspora through storytelling is very important that we understand that the purpose is not for gathering of people who like to talk or who don't have what to do aside saying something. Um, this is the uh, toughest way of achieving this very difficult task, because it looks like, hey, come on, we are not building bridges, to connect Italy to Kenya. We are not building railways to connect the United Kingdom to Egypt. So how are we reconnecting the African diaspora? So it becomes very unbelievable when we tell you that what we are doing here is more than what the Vanderbilts, and the great men. So when purpose is not known, abuse already started from the point of that ignorance. So why we are doing this is because at the foundation of reconnecting our power, we need to know our identity. All right, we need to get our identity. And earlier, Sobe was talking about frequency. I love energy. My engineering background is so important to everything I do, that I make sure that I bring out energy from everything. And as a matter of fact, we are actually in bags of energy. We exhibit and express our energy at different tempos with respect to time, place, and people. So we can't, go away from the fact that for us to be able to make things happen, we must understand how energy is transformed. And you see, when you hear frequency, you see what I see in frequency, you are never going to be free from the consequence when you understand how to tune into the frequency. It's not going to happen. You can't walk free away from the impact of getting yourself in the right frequency. All right. Now we have got a lot of energy as individuals, and I like to use this analogy, especially for two persons that must do the same thing. They must agree. When you have 50 Newton as the force that you are bringing to the table, someone else has 70 Newton as the force that is coming to the table. Resultant of forces taught me that when forces go in the same direction, they are added together. All right, but when they go in opposite direction, they are subtracted from one another. So when you look at 70 and 50, I intentionally chose those figures because of what I want to say now. 20 and 120, right? They sound alike, all right? But the difference is just in the direction. 70 plus 50 is 120. 70 minus 50 is 20. This is the disservice we do to ourselves when we do not understand how powerful we are coming together. You can be so powerful individually, and that has gotten so much into your head, and you feel like, hey, come on, I can do this. I've got the capacity, what's the purpose? All right, our identity discovery and formation. This is very important. Look at the word identity. Do you see what I'm saying in the word identity? I am seeing the indestructible entity. All right, the only man that is going to be destroyed, the only man that anybody can bully, all right, is a man that has got no sense of identity. All right, you won't call a man an animal and he will start crying if he does not know that he's actually a man. But when a man is not sure of who he is, you can call him a stick and he will cry. All right, so we need to be able to come to that time that this is who we are. We are not people that came from apes. All right, if apes ever became human beings, then there should be no apes again. They should all have uh, uh, gone through evolution. So we need to be able to understand clearly who we are, because this exactly will be giving us a lot of strength. And this is what is happening on this platform. I call what is happening here like a server. In information connectivity, server is like a software or hardware that has the capacity of accepting and responding to requests. All right. Now there must be a network. There must be a network to facilitate this, response. All right. So, and that is what is happening here. So every time people come, anybody that comes here is like a computer that is connected to this server. All right. You are going to be making a request, and there's going to be a response. All right. So what we are doing here now, every time we are building the network of this server, making it more responsive, making it more robust, such that when people come here, they are able to get that.
Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, network glitch, definitely. See, I want to be very brief, and I would like to tell you something which makes a world of common sense as far as strategy is concerned. Africans, Asians, Europeans, Australians worldwide are pretty well placed in life where they can easily afford a strategy which I have been using for my stay for over 35 years in the UK, the US, Europe, Australia, Nepal, and other Asian countries. We got 20 people. Now, this is something which would make a lot of sense. We got 20 people who were very well to do, and all that they had to spare was $10 a month over. Multiply that by 12, by 20, by 20, $200 a year or whatever. Now, this has been going on for the last good 15, 20 years. And what we did was we just had those 20 people in a group for the diaspora of the country. Currently, it was for India where I initiated, but then we had people from the other continents. Unfortunately, it could not come down to Africa. Never mind, it would, I'm certain. Now, what we did was we had 20 professionals from 20 backgrounds: doctors, educators, advocates, accountants, musicians, authors, and XYZ. So, what we did was the money was to be paid to the diaspora under these guidelines. They would have to start from the basic level, and as per my thinking then, that it was a school. The school got uh, an amount where the only task that they had to perform, because I'm absolutely genuinely concerned about the environment, that they had to plant one tree a day, a fruit tree, multiply that by 30, and if nothing else, it would give them $30. $30 multiplied by over 80 would make $250. That was enough for them to pay for their school fee, and $1 for the principal to supervise. Workable, absolutely workable. Been working for the last 20 years. Then we had other things like scholarships. Then we had people who would venture to the country where we were or there our friends were, and we would shack them up for free. If possible, another bed in a room for a stranger from your country costs nothing, just like a good friend who's come over. But the value was tremendous. So much was the bonding that the tourism started to come through. People started spending money, and except for their lodging, boarding, and fooding, they had to bear everything else. But then there were people who were entrepreneurs, business people, or people on a sightseeing maybe. Well, that was a massive, massive saving. But this effect rubbed on, and because this effect rubbed on, people started, and it's now been quite some time that I'm back here, and we are still those 20 members. Others donate. We meet once a month. Now, since I'm back in India, we do not meet, but with the networking system, one knows how things go. This is absolutely for two reasons. First is blood is thicker than water. Like Mr. Arthur mentioned, there comes a time when you would know where your roots are. And so for Asians, so for Europeans, so for Australians and South Americans, everywhere. Number one. And number two, Mr. Obey, let's not forget ever, every individual in this room is endowed with a culture which is absolutely being lost in the muddle of today's race for more and more or more of wealth and trying to outdo one another. Well, our forefathers, their forefathers lived a life of contentment. And luckily, once you are a diaspora, you start earning, which multiplies to a phenomenal sum, even if it's $1 a month. That's my humble suggestion. And I have been a part of this. I don't know, and I'm honestly just happy to share this with you that if I can do it, everybody can. And would you believe it? Wouldn't take more than half a decade for things to take place and bring in more smiles everywhere. Let's start this in 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your suggestion, Benaji. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right. I don't know if Gloria is still there. Gloria, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm almost on my way out, but
All
I
right.
can say
All right. Briefly, what would you recommend as the best way to reconnect the African diaspora? Of course, Olatoji, don't worry, we are coming back to you. Okay.
okay. Yeah, briefly. Like I said earlier, looking, the different ways that I think are effective at the moment. Thinking about collaborating with cultural organizations, facilitating opportunities for Africans in the diaspora to learn about the diverse cultures within the African communities and to share these different communications that we're having. Like you said some time ago, Behi, now you can be in one place and talk to someone at the other end of the world, which is something we've never had before. So you never know who's going to hear these series, these audios, these postings, and you might just save one African person's life somewhere where they've lost their soul, based on where they are. So obviously more audio series, they're very powerful. I'm finding just how intense audios audios are. They have something different. There's something about just hearing voices, which is very powerful. I work in an industry, where I talk on the phone, and there is an immediacy about listening. And like Brother Olotunji said about 2024 being, a year of listening. If you really quiet yourself down and listen to what is being said, you'll be amazed at what can be evoked within you when you're not distracted by the visuals. Visual is great too. I'm a visual person, but there's something about just listening, quietly listening to different voices, different accents. And as African people, our accents are amazing. Yes, we don't speak the Queen's English, but that's what makes us so, and some of us do, but it, it, there's something so beautiful about the melody of our voices, of our accents, and utilizing digital platforms, social media, and other media places to share these stories and creating and curating content that highlights the richness and diversity of African cultures and traditions, thereby achieve, really showing our achievements and fostering a series of connection and pride. And I want to come back very quickly to what I said about language. I've always loved language. I just love hearing different accents and different dialects. And I think it's something we should really invest in. It may be a word or two here and there. And there's something about our different languages. I can never get that word right. Or many. Anyway, the word that says a word sounds like what it means. There's something like in the Yoruba tradition when you say eshe, which is thank you. The way you say eshe, you can just hear it. There's something comforting about it. Eshe adupe, that is thank you. I have lots of Igbo friends. They say dalu, which is thank you. Mba, that's no. And I think we miss an opportunity to really get even closer when we hear our different languages. And just a word or two. I have lots of Islam brothers and sisters, and I say to them, salam. I don't. Sometimes I get it wrong, but the intention is there. And I have some of my minister friends when I say things like inshallah, and they say, but you're a Christian. How can you say something? I said, you know what it means? Inshallah means, God willing. Is that a bad thing in any language, in any religion? We have to get rid of all this stuff that has been put upon us that, has been put there to separate us. Let us understand our intentions to one another. The fact that we are a family, different religions, different cultures, different languages, but all these things, if we open our hearts, our minds, to embrace it, to know that we're in a different time, and this time that we're in, it's really important that we put our arms around one another, we embrace one another. We know that our children need us to do this because we need to pass these things down to them. So that's what I have to offer within the short time. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Gloria. I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. Anyway, I don't know you were going to cut out a little bit earlier, so yeah, you're free. You're free. We are going to keep you in our memory. Thank you so much for that. And of course, I'm going to beg Atu later on to explain because in your 4-part to storytelling, that is a part that has to do with story listening. So I will ask you to respond to that later on. But first, I will pass on to Dr. Matsia. Of course, we need to respect the women. All right, Dr. Matsia, considering what we are discussing today, which is reconnecting the African diaspora community through storytelling, and looking at it from the point of view of leadership, because you just recently published a book on leadership, what kind of relevance would our conversation today have in that line?
Well, I was to speak, which is really what I was going to talk about, the ways in which we can actually reconnect. It would have been on that frame, leadership. And there are 2 ways I feel that we can reconnect to our diaspora as leaders, meaning we take the steps and we take the initiative and we take the stand. And I call it return and engagement. I believe with all my heart that we must, as leaders, reconnecting the diaspora, whichever level we are, even if we are writers, if we are singers, if we are nurses, doctors, wherever we go, if we are creative arts, if we are specialists, if we are researchers, wherever we get recognition, we must return and engage. So we must not only carry a physical return, but we must also carry an emotional return. We must always point them back to where it all started, where I had my foundation, where I was formed and fashioned. So now I am great and I'm getting accolades outside of my frame, outside of my country, and maybe outside of my heritage. However, I must return and engage. And I keep saying that because we must consider visits to our lands as means of reconnection on a very personal level, in my opinion. And we must also engage with the communities and traditions, and we must bring them to the place of our recognition. We must pull greatness from where they are. In our African diaspora, as we can contribute very powerfully to the African diaspora and bring them in. And I call it, and I'm going to say it again for those who might miss what I've just said, return and engage. Find a way to contribute to the development and growth of where you are from, of your roots, of your history. Find a way to affirm those who are as great as you but needs the opportunity. Find a way to promote understanding and empowerment through your heritage. Find a way to affirm each other as leaders with what you have been given, with what you have, with where you are. And that is why I appreciate your podcast, Obi, because it pulls people from where they are in the diaspora, and it brings their greatness, makes their greatness, their contributions, the value that they're adding very visible. And it is done in a very innovative way, using their skills wherever they are. If they are artists, if it is literature, if it's their music, any form of expression that they have, I find that you celebrate, you reinterpret, and you innovate upon the traditional African cultural elements. And I really, really feel that gives the diaspora a very cultural and rich heritage and influence as they contribute to the global arena, sharing the richness of where they are from, of their origins, by their skills and talents and their art, and merging and integrating it in such a way that they are recognized and are given significance outside of their space. Bring that, all of that back, and build on that, and never forget that there is where you start. And if you do not start, you cannot have an ending. That's where I'll end for this time.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Mancia. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. That is really powerful, no? That call to the origin, because how could you start without? How could you be where you are if you didn't have a place to start? If at a couple of times I have to really sort of remind the people that there is something that we should allow to continue, which is a situation where somebody is telling us our story. This should not be, it should be a crime almost that we should allow somebody else to be telling us our story. It doesn't sound well. Because what we are doing really is that we are putting an obstacle or a blockage, or we call it an object between where we are standing and us. No, we should let our feet touch the ground, because the ground is a source. We should have a direct contact to it. You see, sometimes some people, when they get to their land of birth, they usually will kiss the land. That physical touch is important. It's like you are going back to the origin. That is vitally important. We don't want to let somebody come and start telling you, this is the story of Africa. You look at the person that is talking, it's not an African, and this person is telling you the story of Africa. We shouldn't allow that to continue. We should go back. I know this might be a lot of work, I know, but we are supposed to do what is hard. That is why we can be hard. Because if we are looking for what is simple, what is easy, we will always remain on the surface. We will never be able to go deep. Instead, we are supposed to really go deep. Like, wherever you are, where do you find yourself today at this moment? Don't just be on the surface. You could ask, you see, I came to Italy in the August of 2004. Then a couple of years later, I began to, you see, that very day that I came here, I met some people in Turin. I told the people that I was going to write a book about the Africans in Italy. And they were like really laughing at me. I am not joking. They really laughed at me. They thought I was joking, but I wasn't joking. I knew I was going to do this. I didn't know any word in Italian. I told them, not only that I told them I was going to write a book in Italy, but that I was going to write a book in Italian. it looked like kind of fun now because I'm talking about many years ago. But at that time, for many people, it was really laughable. So when I come here, I really do what I have to do. I've written a couple of books here. Some of my books were even accepted here at the university. I have never gone to any university, but my book being read there at the university, telling students, hey, go and pick one of the book and read here. It's going to be part of our course. So what I'm essentially saying is that it's not even that complicated. All you need to do is to ask yourself, where are you right now? Where you are. Gather the resources together, reinterpret them. That might be all you need to do. Maybe you are a musician. Use your music to do this. You don't need to be a writer to do this. Maybe you are a performer, like you are a stand-up comedian, something like that. You can do this in that place too. It may be the story that you have been telling that make people laugh. Oftentimes might be that you are talking about some other persons. But now you want to make sure that your people are also part of the story. Then you bring your people into the story. You can do that too. All right, I could go on there for some time, but I'm not going to do that. I have somebody.
Just before you go,
Yeah, please.
before you go, Obi, I just want to add. You made a point that I don't want anyone to miss that is listening. It really doesn't require much. What it really requires is self-affirmation. When you know yourself, you cannot be false to any man. I say that every time. When you affirm who you are, it means you embrace everything that you are, the good and the bad, the hurt, the pain, the trauma, whatever it is, you would embrace it, accept it, acknowledge it, and own it. And it is from that place of knowing and understanding yourself that you're able to develop all of your other skills and talents to lead. If it is that you're a father, you're not a magician, you're not a literature person, you're just decide that you want to be a father and you work in a normal capacity because you have decided that you want to just build your home as an African. Do it well. Lead from the front. And leading from the front means I know who I am. I know whose I am. I know what I am about. I know what I want my children to embrace. I want them to know who they are. Lead from the front. It is a simple thing. Self-affirmation, self-acceptance, self-love allows you to lead from the front. We'll always tell your story and no other.
Thank you so much for that. That is very important. That is important because self-acceptance at the end of the day is going to make a lot of sense here because it's not easy. Okay, it's easy, but it's not easy. It depends. If you understand who you are, and this is really what you are going to do, you're going to accept that you're going to have some challenges. If you do this, the rest might become easier for you because you know where you are going. Everything that follow you, there is a saying that I don't remember who said this, that when you are really determined and you are ready, everything that stands on your way become your way. If you are really ready, if a tree falls, that tree becomes a stepping stone for you. But if you are not ready, if a tree falls, that is a blockage for you. It's the same thing. But you see, you are interpreting it differently and you are approaching it differently. How do you interpret the object in front of you? Sometimes it can be up to you too. All right. I'm going to pass the mic to Atham John. Because I was saying before, Atham John had interpretation, have a way of explaining storytelling in the way that it can really make it so fascinating. One of the way is story listening. And because the person that was talking before, Gloria, did make mention of listening, and listening is really a vital part of the human communication. I will please pass the mic to Atham John to help us explain that part of the storytelling, listening.
Well, thank you. Story listening for me is often more powerful than storytelling because story listening goes to what Dr. Marcia was talking about. Listening to the stories of the family, listening to the stories of our forebears, listening to the stories of the places, the people, the experiences that we've had in life and those that came before us had in their lives, all serve as a source material for telling us who we are. Somebody we all know, Shakespeare, in The Tempest, wrote, "The past is prologue," meaning that things that have happened to us in the past kind of foretell what will happen to us in the future in some ways. Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, who wrote the I Ching and is kind of the father of Taoist thought of religion in China, said, knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom. To know ourselves, we have to listen to ourselves. We have to know the source material that makes up ourselves. And often it's not just from the moment of our birth. It's our parents, our grandparents, our great-great-great-grandparents, and the places of origin. And we take all that in total. And the aggregate of all of those people, those places, those experiences, those lessons, those trainings, we then can know from whence we've come. And, if I took every experience, every person, every place, every training that I've had over all the decades of being alive, I might have 75 3x5 cards with those people, places, experiences written on the front. If I then look at the front of that card and it says Isabella Timmons Banks, my grandmother, I could flip that card over to the blank space and I could write down the values I learned from her while she was alive. I could find a card that said Firenze, Florence, Italy, when I traveled there as a young man. I could look at the card on the front, Florence, Italy, knowing that Michelangelo's David's there, the Medici Palace is there, the Silversmith Bridge above the Arno River is there. And I could flip that card over to the blank side and I could write what I learned about diversity, what I learned about cuisine there. I'm cataloging all of my experiences that I've encountered in my life, and I'm using that as source material. So when I look forward and say, I see that thing over there in the world that's broken, and I have a way I know I can fix it. I'm going to start a business to do just that. The 75 cards I have with all the people, places, and experiences and the values that I gained from those, I don't need all 75. I might just need 8. Because these 8, I need grit, I need courage, I need the ability to build a team, I need the ability to, et cetera, et cetera. They're all coming from the aggregate of all of my experiences. For me, that's what story listening is. For me, it's acknowledging what the philosophers throughout history have said. To know ourselves is hard. Ben Franklin, an American politician, writer, author, thinker, said there are 3 things hard in the world: diamonds, steel, and knowing ourselves. This African diaspora through storytelling, for me, is to know myself by knowing other people who come from the same place that my forebears came from. That's the source material that informs me who I am. That's listening to my own narrative. And that is the hard part. It's not something that you can just wave a magic wand and magically it appears. You have to commit yourself to doing the work to understand. And when you do, that's where true wisdom comes from. And I think I'll close by saying this. Story listening helps me be as grounded as it can possibly be. And grounding ourselves is that intellectual, philosophical reasoning that we humans do. It's the desire to be firmly planted in some cultural consideration, some philosophical reasoning about why am I here? How did I get here? Being grounded is almost impossible without knowing from where you come from. And as I said earlier, if you were here and listening, it's your story is your strategy. When you make your story better, your strategy becomes better. And making your story, your personal story better, is feeding it more and more information about all the people, places, and experiences that make you who you are today. And that's how you get grounded. And being grounded allows you to reach as high as you possibly can to achieve more. Story listening is the key to all of that. So, Obahe, once again, thanks for having me on the stage to share my thesis on storytelling is more than just the telling. There's the story listening that's so important.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you and your contribution there, that Atom. All right. Now, of course, for those of you who maybe want to learn more about what we are discussing here, where we are coming from, I often say, but of course, now I don't say it all the time, that way it becomes too much of a repetition, even though actually repetition is part of my strategy, both in training and in writing. At the beginning of my writing, sometimes even when I create courses, I just established some fundamentals that I continue to hammer it in the course so that you can never miss it. So we are essentially coming from a research project about the presence of Africans in northern Italy. But of course, the book is not entirely about that. So the book is about how to use the power of storytelling in what you do, and it's available on Amazon. It's Storytelling Mastery. There are actually 5 books in them, each of them looking at different aspects of storytelling, how to leverage the power of storytelling. But other than that, we also have courses that we have created helping businesses to leverage the power of storytelling. So if maybe you are in business and you want to learn how to leverage the power of storytelling, why not? You can reach out to me, DM me, or reach out to our website, either obehi.com or aclasses.org. Or you can come to our online school, which is academy.aclasses.org. There you will find a lot of courses that we have created for people who want to learn how to leverage the power of storytelling in their business. Because we are really doing this thing, and we believe that it is important for you, because until you learn how to master what you are doing, you cannot leverage it, because leverage usually comes after mastering. In that, when somebody wake you on your bed, say, tell me something about storytelling, or maybe tell me how to do this. You need to be able to do this without maybe going to take a book to read or going to stagger someone, because it is part of you. It is so part of you that any day, anytime, you can do this. So this is what we're essentially talking about. That is why we are every now and then we are coming up with different topics on the topic of storytelling. We want to feed the people on how to leverage the power of storytelling wherever you are. Of course, today we are talking about the African diaspora community, and you can see again we are saying, how do we connect it, leveraging the power of storytelling, talking about story, talking about our experiences, talking about what we have passed through. Because when we share this thing among ourselves, we come to understand that we are actually one and the same people. Sometimes we are suffering for the same thing. So let us use our knowledge for ourselves, for our own good, for our community, for the hundreds of millions of people in the diaspora. Let's see how we can leverage our experiences for our own good. All right, we have spent quite a bit amount of time here today. So I will sort of pass the mic to Dr. Marcia to ask, what is your final take as we move towards the ending of today's conversation? Please leave the audience with your final take, and do remember to let them know how they can reach out to you and maybe get a copy of your book. Please go ahead.
My final take on weaving our stories into our lives so we can reconnect is that we must create inclusive spaces that can honor us and honor our culture and our ancestors. We must foster this sense of unity and pride in our shared heritage. We must create a community of practice that weaves these threads together and make them personal as well as collective enough to secure the experiences that will maximize our well-being mentally, our overall well-being. There are no shortcuts. It's a process. It is a commitment. It is a mindset. It is a determination. It is a spiritual obligation. It is really a vibrant, dynamic request that involves, just as Otto says, listening, that involves sharing, that involves acceptance, that involves compromise, that involves courage, and also involves confidence and also clarity. As we move towards doing all of that, let us use our resources as storytellers, and let us support storytelling through mentorship programs and through preserving what we know, so we together can amplify the many voices and the many calls into one voice. And that voice is moving from surviving to striving, to becoming visible, to becoming significant, to becoming ourselves. And I hope I have not allow anybody to think that this is an idealist approach. It requires us to be disruptive because change in itself is not comfortable. It requires us to know ourselves in such a way that we stand in our identity very immovable and unapologetically. I will not stop from saying that. It involves sacrifice and it involves risk. But as we move through that, we will foster the type of solidarity that create opportunities for each other in the diaspora and creates communities of practice, as I said before, and collaboration centers where people feel safe and draw strength and empowerment from each other. I am Dr. Marcy, as I said before. My book is now on Amazon. It's called A Leader Like You. There are multiple formats, and there is also a leadership workbook that you get as a free gift once you purchase that book and leave your review. Once your review is there, I will make sure that you get your workbook, because there is also a way in which you can contact me to get your workbook. There is also a devotional that is coming on how, as leaders, we can secure well being so we strive. There are two masterclass coming up. We are in the preparation for that. And there is a podcast where we will allow persons to share their stories and give tips on how to remain resilient, relevant, and exemplary while integrating your faith into your practice as a career professional in any industry that you are, and how you can use it to ignite the profits and products as a brand. We are also looking at we have our audio lives on Tuesday. We have revamped that. And we also have our lunch and learn on a Friday, which is live stream. So those are the offerings that are out there. I can be connected at drtpmotivate2.com or drtpmotivate me2 at gmail.com. I am on LinkedIn, I am on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook. There are some exciting times coming up from this end as a coach, and I will just allow you to prepare and have the mindset to just follow, click on my bell so you can see the tips and subscribe to my newsletter, Christian Essentials. Thank you so much for allowing me to share the stage today, OBE, and also Arthur and Adron and Olatunje and Carol. They are all not here, but I appreciate your expertise. And as each one reach one, we really build and learn from each other. I wish you all the best for 2024, as I said before, and may God richly bless you all.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you, and all the blessing to your way too, because yeah, it come around and it goes around. Thank you so much for that. All right, Athom, it's your turn. Please share with the people what is your final take here, and please remember to tell them how to connect with you if they want to do business with you.
Well, my parting words are, I'm going back to the Ubuntu and the greeting, Sawubona and Sikbona. That exchange has a rippling effect. It's the manifestation of our principles, our beliefs, our actions, and those two terms, those two greetings, the energy we create in the world when we use that sentiment. We acknowledge that we cannot be human alone. We're not in this by ourselves. We're in this, we're part of the human network. We're part of the human family. It's important to understand how much a part of humanity and the shared humanity that we have. And I think when we do that, we kind of bring into view a better world, not one that's separate, but one that is, we're all in it together. And so when I say Sawabona, you say Sikbona. When I say Sawabona, I say I see you. And you reply, I am here. And acknowledge for both of us that until you see me, I don't exist. When you see me, you bring me into existence. That is that shared humanity. We need each other for more than just that reason, but that's a good reason. You bring me into existence. So thank you for being in the audience. Thanks for seeing me here and listening as I share my thoughts on African diaspora through storytelling. Obehe, thank you once again for the stage.
All right, thank you so much for that. Thank also to Ajo Benanji. I appreciate your presence here. I appreciate the sharing that you share with us. And of course, those that have also left by now, I appreciate all of you. It has been a fantastic time here talking about reconnecting the African diaspora through storytelling. Of course, this is an important thing for us to do. I repeat again, the African diaspora community is a large one and it have a lot of opportunity. But before we can start tapping into that opportunity, we need to be able to connect among ourselves. We need to be able to leverage the potential that we have so that it can be teach one and give one. If you know anything, teach it to another person so that it is not. When we leverage the power that we have collectively, there is nothing that we cannot do. This is where I really want us to take the message to. In that connecting among ourselves is for us to be able to leverage the power that we have as a collective. And as a collective, there is nothing that can bring us down. But if we are not connected, that is when we will suffer. That is where it become easy for somebody to be coming in and doing what is continuously happening today. So it is important that we connect among ourselves beyond the languages, beyond the religion, beyond the boundary. Because now the internet has made it even possible for us to be able to connect across different borders. You can be in Africa, you can be wherever you are. You can connect among people and share. So let's leverage this for our own interest, for our own good, and to do businesses also among ourselves. It is our time to be able to build our community. Let's leverage the power of storytelling for this. So thank all of you for coming. And of course, we are here again 14 days from now, because every 14 days we are here talking about different arguments as it relates to the African diaspora. So we'll be here again 14 days from now.